Hi, I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. What a pleasure to have you here with us this evening. How does it feel to be here at the Girls on Film Awards tonight?
I'm a huge fan of the Girls on Film podcast. So it's always a pleasure to be here and it celebrates exceptional contributions to the world of cinema.
And I guess we would perhaps hope at some point in the future we wouldn't need to be, perhaps vocally championing women all the time, particularly in the cinema sphere. But it feels like it is something that's still really important to do. So why do you think that is? And why do you think a podcast like this really helps in that way?
I can't wait until I don't have to talk about women in a kind of specific diversity or inclusion way, given we are half the world. But I think it is really important, while the platforms are not equal and while there is underrepresentation in the industry, I think what Anna and the whole Girls on Film team do is celebrate women in film in such an interesting way with the range of awards on offer tonight. Female Friendship on Screen, the Ally Award. There's a whole range of brilliant celebrations that mean we're just throwing that spotlight on great contributions and hopefully getting more audiences into them so that then those kind of barriers start to fall.
Why is it so important to have diversity both in front and behind the camera, and particularly to be able to sort of have the female experience front and center in cinema in the way that perhaps we haven't had done in the past?
The way that we see ourselves is the way that we shape our society. So the stories that we tell each other shape who we are. And I think if we're not seeing authentic, representative work on screen, then we're not seeing ourselves reflected. And I think that's really important. Cinema in its best form connects us. It creates empathy. It helps bring us closer together so that actually, if you're not a woman, you might understand more what it's like to be a woman and the challenges we face. I think just some of the films that this year, like film like Night Bitch, that looks at what it's like to be a woman and a mother at home stuck with your child in what's an amazing and magical time, but also a slightly crazy making time. So those things that can help you understand lived experience can only be more powerful in a world where we need to bring ourselves closer to each other rather than get increasingly divided.
I think my personal favourite from this year has been The Substance, seeing that on the nominee list for Best Film, and also Demi Moore's performance. Was that one of your favourites? What do you see up there on the nominee list that's really stood out to you?
Like you, I love The Substance. I saw it in Toronto last year, and the audience reaction in that cinema was just such a mind-blowing experience to share with a bunch of people. But there's so many brilliant films this year. The Assessment is one that I've really loved. I read Blink Twice, Black Box Diaries, Mistress to Speller, documentary genre, really powerful genres, all being directed by incredible female filmmakers doing really, really powerful work that's coming out of the box of just kind of, in inverted commas, women's stories. So we're seeing big genre movies that really do blow everybody's minds, let alone the women that have been hungering to see stuff like Substance on the cinema screen.
And do you think there's something to be said with that in the way that maybe female directors particularly do seem to be gravitating towards kind of genre, and whether it kind of gives you a different set of tools to be able to make manifest certain things, whether it's horror, sort of the experience of being a woman in The Substance is sort of made tangible through that film. So that seems to be something that particularly female directors are gravitating toward.
I've always been a huge genre fan, and that's partly because I do think it's able to throw a lens on society's problems and society's experience in a much sharper and hyper-real way, because it can break the rules of a traditional drama. With horror or with fantasy or sci-fi, you can amplify something to the nth degree, like The Substance does with the idea of an anti-aging treatment. So you get to see something that actually really stops you in your tracks and makes you think in a different way. That's why Jordan Peele's films are, on paper, genre, but I think some of the most societally kind of incisive films at the time. And I love seeing women like Coralie Farja get hold of that stuff and really blow our minds in the cinemas.
And it feels also like maybe being more candid about showing female pleasure on screen, kind of different sort of dynamics between partners, whether that's Baby Girl or whether it's Nora. So do you think that's another boundary maybe we're busting, and perhaps just getting rid of the male gaze that we constantly seem to have in the past?
Yeah, I think we're thinking about perspectives on pleasure. I think we're thinking about perspectives on the female body, what that does in cinema. Nora takes us a long way from movies like Transformers, for example, where we're thinking about not just just women being objects, but actually being protagonists, and it's really playing what it's like to explore sex work. So I love seeing Sean Baker nominated in the Ally Award this evening, which is a great category, you know, sponsored by IMDb, one of the biggest kind of cinema and movie fan platforms in the world, doing something really, really great for what it is to tell stories in cinema in our times right now.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for your time. Really enjoyed tonight. Thank you. Cheers.